Good morning. Welcome to the second segment of the Wednesday. This morning, kicking us off under the goal of innovation, we're very honoured to welcome Daniel Winterstein, who is the founder of a fabulous digital marketing agency called GoodLoop. Daniel's background and area of study and expertise lies predominantly in AI and data analytics. And Daniel has taken his knowledge, as Namisha was saying in the previous segment, his knowledge and the solutions that he's come across to do something really amazing with the work that he's doing. So Daniel, I'm going to pass the floor over to you just to give a brief introduction about you and your background, and then, yeah, if you can tell us a bit more about what GoodLoop does and how you've leveraged innovation and technology to achieve your goals.
Thank you very much, Wendy. Let me tell you about GoodLoop. That was 15 seconds, not very long. That is all we ask of people. And yet using that, we are able to enable incredible things. So thank you for coming. And here's my talk, saving the world 15 seconds at a time.
I love that.
Sorry, Namisha?
I said, I just love that, saving the world 15 seconds at a time. I just think that's so brilliant.
Thanks. So hello, this is a photo of the founders of GoodLoop. I am, you can probably guess, I'm the one in the blue shirt, and there is, beside me is Amy Williams.
Daniel, just to let you know that on my screen, I'm still viewing it I'm not viewing it as a slide, and I'm still on the first slide.
Okay, right.
I think you're going to have to put the presentation on the screen that the Zoom is on.
Yeah, the joy of
technology, hey.
I know, we've all had
always happens, right.
Loading.
Okay, we'll have to slightly shrunk down. There we go. Okay, now you can see a picture of myself and a picture of Amy, who is my co-founder. And well, Amy isn't on this event today, but thanks to the wonder of digital media, I'm going to include her in a couple of video segments. What is GoodLoop? In a nutshell, we take advertiser money and we give it to charities. And everyone wins from this. And here are some of the brands we've worked with. We've been fortunate to work with some really brilliant global brands. To call out a few from there: Huggies, Kit Kat, the Co-op Bank, Villa Plus Holidays, Tom's Shoes, Life Cake, they're a Canon company, Coca-Cola, Pepsi. And here are some of the charities that we work with, which covers a range from the World Wildlife Fund, taking action to save the planet, to Save the Children or the Red Cross, working to save people's lives, and a whole range there. And it's been a real pleasure to work with these people and support them. So that sounds lovely. What is it? Okay, I will talk you through it, and then I'll show you an example. How GoodLoop works. We are an advertising company. We will show adverts. We take existing adverts, we wrap them in our format, which lets users pick a charity when they're watching an ad. And then we offer them to the user. And when people choose to engage, because you have a choice, they unlock a free donation funded by the advertiser to the charity they picked. So that's what that 15 seconds is. You give 15 seconds of your time, the advertiser gives money, their message got heard, the charity gets funded, and you've taken a few spare seconds and donated them to a good cause. And as you say, this is not a token donation. We meet a lot of cynicism because a lot of the time when corporates engage with charities, sometimes it is a token effort. This is not. This is, for every pound that the advertiser is spending, fully half of that, 50%, goes to charity. And of the other 50%, most of the rest of that is going to go to the publisher to pay for their time and space. The agencies involved will have a cut, and we have a cut because we are a business. And I'll return to that later in the talk about businesses not having to choose between profit and purpose. The profit plus purpose is actually a really good model for both business in general and achieving impact. And speaking of impact, let's look at some of the things that GoodLoop funds. With Centrepoint, that was a Tom's campaign advertising their shoes, paid for 888 nights of accommodation for young homeless people. Actually the same campaign also paid for Mind staff to provide mental health via telephone. There's another campaign covered food for a year for people living below the poverty line here in Britain. We've also supported things like Amnesty International, Surfers Against Sewage, who do beach cleanups around the UK, a range of great projects. And those, so each advert is only a small amount. Each advert is a few pence. But those few seconds and those few pence add up. And so far, we have raised over $1 million. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, that's not enough. And you're right. If I look at the industry that we're in, digital advertising is a huge industry, and it is growing rapidly. These are 2019 figures. You can expect that the 2020 figures will probably be at least 20% higher. That's the kind of year-on-year growth that you're seeing, and that's only going to continue. And advertising is the industry behind some of the largest and most influential companies on the planet. You might think of Google as a technology company, but when it comes down to the money, they're an advertising company. So it's great that we've raised $1 million for charity, but our goal is to actually alter this much bigger market and lean it towards being a force for good and raising much larger sums, because there are billions out there which could go to good causes. So that's all lovely. Why does this make sense as a business side? Well, for businesses, the problem we solve is that people don't want to watch adverts. We are an advertising company founded on the understanding that people don't like adverts. And they're not wrong. Adverts have become intrusive. This is my illustration of online advertising. You're engaged in talking to friends or learning something, and here's this guy with a megaphone who's butting in. This is not a good way to make friends and influence people. You wouldn't turn up uninvited at a party with your megaphone and start blasting messages out. Why do we do that online? And unsurprisingly, this doesn't work terribly well. People resent it. Ad blocker usage has shot up. It's now approaching 1 billion devices running ad blockers and a significant fraction of the market. Ad blockers, this is the largest boycott in human history. because this kind of advertising isn't the way to engage with people. You need to treat people as partners. You need to respect them, give them control, choice, and give them a reason and a share in what's going on. And that's the ethos behind what we do. And what we see is it works. Treating people with respect results in them paying more attention to your message, and that's what the advertiser's after. So here are some of the proven benefits from GoodLoop campaigns. Comparing like for like spending money via the GoodLoop model, where the user's given a choice and there's money going to charity, versus just blasting it out there as cheaply as you can. We see people watch the video more, people remember the advert more, and people think better of your brand. And we see this consistently across our campaigns. Right, I have talked a lot about the wonders of GoodLoop. Let me show you an example of our campaign, one of our campaigns. And indeed, let me pass over briefly to, oh, now I'm not sure if this is going to work with the screen share, right. Nimisha, can you let me know if this video plays?
Yeah. Yep, working.
GoodLoop
Excellent.
is an ethical advertising platform which drives engagement by using ad money to fund amazing causes around the world.
I should introduce, this is my co-founder and the CEO of GoodLoop, Amy Williams.
The company works with global brands, creating meaningful media moments where a brand and a consumer unite for just a few seconds to do some good in the world. More than $600 billion is spent on online advertising every year. Imagine if just a small percentage of that went to drive real positive impact. Well, that was the sentiment behind GoodLoop's innovative partnership with Kimberly-Clark and Rocket Mail, a partnership that would seamlessly sync purpose with profit by raising funds for 3 relevant family-focused charities, while simultaneously increasing consideration and purchase intent. The team distributed this campaign programmatically. If viewers chose to engage with the Huggies content for at least 10 seconds, they unlocked a free donation and could choose which cause they would like to support.
You should never have to compromise between caring for your baby and caring for the environment. But just by choosing Huggies over other leading brand baby wipes, you can save this much plastic a year.
The campaign raised £20,000, funding over 200 nights accommodation for parents with sick children, 50 emergency phone lines for pregnant women at risk, as well as Make-A-Wish dream projects for critically ill youngsters. Not only this, the campaign delivered 45% uplift in purchase intent for baby wipes, 20% more completed views than originally planned, and an uplift of 11% in the number of people who now associate Huggies baby wipes with sustainability. This campaign proved unequivocally that ethics really can drive effectiveness.
Okay. So thank you for being with me in that introduction to GoodLoop. I'm now going to talk a little bit about the advertising industry and how the advertising industry works, some of the technology and systems behind the scenes. And then in the final stage of the talk, I'm going to look at GoodLoop's approach to business of profit plus purpose, and some other examples of companies who are doing that successfully. In this section, I'm going to skate over the technical details quite a bit, but please, if you want to know more, we'll return to it with questions at the end. So if you have questions, send them to the moderators and we can go back and dive into the details. Or contact me after the talk, and happy to say more on these things. Okay, let's start with context. The internet. Invented in the 1970s by the US military, Sir Tim Berners-Lee and Al Gore to share photos of cats. It has grown a bit since then. Slight scope creep. 2 years ago marked the point when the majority of the human race was online in some form. And let's just ponder this for a second. This is a huge step forward in information sharing. This is by far the widest, most successful knowledge sharing, education, and communication tool that mankind has ever made. But not everything is going as planned. As I'm sure we're all very aware, the internet has a lot of problems. And let's talk about advertising in data, which can be part of the problems. Going to start by defending advertising. Something to remember about advertising is it funds the free internet. We all love that there's these great tools online that you can go to Google and find out anything you want. That's paid for ultimately by advertising and ad dollars. So we don't want to lose that, but at the same time, we don't have to just accept advertising as this untamable beast it has become. Now, when you are surfing the net and reading an article online, the experience for you is similar to calmly reading a printed newspaper. Underneath the scenes, a lot is going on. There is a frantic real-time auction which will decide what ads are going to go on that page. If you're using a mobile phone to surf the internet, you might notice your phone getting hot. You might also notice your data use going down and your battery going down. If you're surfing the internet from your phone, most of your data and most of your battery is actually going on advertising related activities. I'm not going to try and do this video here from Trading Places, but if you want to picture what's happening, imagine a stock market with lots of buyers and sellers shouting at each other. Each auction, each of those ad spots can involve over 100 companies. Those auctions take place in a fraction of a second, and they are happening 30 billion times a day. As a technologist, this is really quite exciting. This is a big technical challenge to make the advertising system work. On top of that, we have data use. So if you imagine advertising without targeting as blindly shooting, you're not going to get many hits. Most products are not suitable for everyone. They are suitable for a small slice of people. And even within that, the advert will then be further focused on one segment of the audience. The old approach to advertising was, well, that is true, but all we can do is stick up billboards over town and hope that our segment of the audience goes past those billboards. And this is like our man here shooting arrows everywhere because some of them will hit. The modern approach is, well, let's collect data on people, and so we can target. Put like that, it's sounding, you can see the business sense of it. And after all, who wants to see irrelevant ads? The profiles that get kept on you, they've got a little bit out of control. There's been some comparisons made of the profiling that advertising is doing on you as compared to the profiling that the Stasi used to do in East Germany. I forget the multiple, but it is orders of magnitude more. Lots of data being collected about you, fed off to machine systems who are trying to learn and analyze, predict what you like and don't like, and hence be able to target things to you. And we can return later to some of the algorithms and machine learning techniques that these AIs use in order to analyze you and give you adverts. Very broad, high overview. We're often kind of categorizing people into some archetype pigeonholes and then targeting them based on that. This is something called a collaborative filter. And that might give you something like, Daniel seems to be British. British people like tea. Show him a tea ad. It's not perfect, but it's better than firing the arrows randomly. Something you'll notice is, like, why do you keep seeing more gambling ads than tea ads? Well, this is because money talks. Gambling pays well, so publishers will carry gambling ads because they're outbidding. Okay, so this is based on data. Where does the data come from? Well, let me introduce a few companies here. LiveRamp, Lotame, BlueKai. If we were having this event in person, I would ask you to hold up your hand if you had heard of those. I would expect that most people haven't heard of these companies. But here's the strange thing. They have heard of you. Or to be technically precise, they would maintain that they only manage data without really knowing who it's from, but they provide a gray market where data on you is bought and sold. And this is the data laundering industry, where it's not clear that the law is exactly being broken, but it's certainly being bent. And if we look at why these things matter, in case you've been in a cave for the last few years, advertising technology can be abused. Cambridge Analytica are the poster boys for this. They are the movie villains of advertising. They took personal data without consent, and they ran targeted fake news campaigns, and they were part of getting the Brexit vote, and they were part of electing Donald Trump. And a simple statement of fact, this was likely financed by Russia to damage Western democracy. And I'd say that it did a good job. Now, these are the movie villains. Unfortunately, they are not unique. And the same kind of techniques are used more widely. And for things which are less obviously bad, but can still be harmful, like those gambling ads, or targeting credit to people for whom that is harmful. However, I work in advertising. There must be some good in this industry. There must be some reason why it should still exist. And advertising doesn't have to be bad. It also enables a lot of things. As I touched on earlier, it funds a lot of the internet which we use and which is such an important part of our lives. It's also, targeted advertising is an enabler for small business and especially creative small businesses. It lets companies start up, find their niche, compete with the big guys. Previously, you had to be able to afford a national TV campaign to play. Now you can start running video adverts on a shoestring. So there's good in here, but how do we get the industry so that the good shines through and the bad is removed? Coloring's gone a little odd on this slide. Well, this is one of the tasks that GoodLoop is working on, and we're looking at how can we do targeted advertising data management so that it is on the user's side and a force for good. And we're looking at tools for transparency, so that you can put your data to good use that you want it to be doing. And you can basically web surf for charity. And I will also say, we are not alone in looking for reform here. Other ethical brands are available. There are other companies who are working on, let's make this good. Final note on this: if anything about advertising disturbs you, I'm going to say ad blockers are a moderately effective way to. They also prevent data tracking and snooping to a reasonable extent. Okay, that was a whistle-stop tour of advertising technology. I would love to talk more about that. I can talk about it for hours, but I'm going to move on and we can come back to it in questions. Let's talk a bit about business and business's role in society. GoodLoop raises money for charity. That's where most of the so 50% of the money that comes in goes out to charities. And indeed, our slice of the money is just a small fraction of that. But we're not a charity. And this sounds nice. We're giving money away to charity. What nice people we must be. No, we are not nice. We are in it for the money. We are set up as a company that has a purpose, wants to do good, but is also set up to make money, to make a profit for ourselves and our investors. And that's part of how we achieve our goals. Firstly, the product we make is about engaging people, and we will engage people more through standing for something good and doing good. So rather than doing good being something that we struggle with as a business because it conflicts with being a business, actually, for GoodLoop, it's part of being a business. The other side is, well, we make a profit. Why do we make a profit? This is part of us achieving scale. I would like to do a lot of good rather than a small amount of good. And that means engaging with large mainstream brands and working with them and using the wonderful global scale they have to do as much good as we can. And that means we need to be serious as a business, and we want investment and we want to grow, and our investors quite naturally would like a return on their money. So this is not being a business and making profit is not a compromise for us. It is an essential part of what makes the company tick and how it achieves good. And I'm going to pass over to Amy to say a bit on this subject of companies which have profit and purpose. There's a term, new term, started a few years ago in the States called zebra companies to contrast them with unicorn companies. And well, let's hear about that.
My name's Amy. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called GoodLoop. We're an ethical ad platform. We distribute content programmatically, and then we use ad money to fund amazing charities around the world. Now, I'll admit I was finding the 15 slides every 15 seconds thing a little stressful. So I've mostly just treated you to a montage of zebras behind me, but I wanted to start with a picture of a unicorn. Now, legend has it that a unicorn is born every time a fairy farts in Silicon Valley. They're white, middle-class creatures that feed on money trees and grow at all costs. And then they exit or IPO and they get a 10x return. You know, unless, of course, they're WeWork. But let's be honest, WeWork is more just a horse with a paper mache horn stuck on its head. WeWork is an extreme example, but the startup fairy tale is real, and it is a grim tale. VCs pump funding into startups, and then they use these funds to grow aggressively. They spread like wildfire. They outpace competition to create monopolies, and they outpace regulation, often failing to protect their customers, their employees, and their suppliers along the way. So within this context, it's little wonder that, you know, you have things like hashtag uninstall Uber, hashtag delete Facebook, and, you know, the Cambridge Analytica scandal becomes increasingly understandable. But I'm not really interested in unicorns. As you can tell, I'm very interested in zebras. Unlike unicorns, zebras are real. Zebras are black and white. We favour both purpose and profit. And the zebra has become a symbol for a group of entrepreneurs and investors led by 4 pioneering women in the US who reject this short-term winner-takes-all mentality. The zebra is a 4,000 strong community globally, of which I'm proud to be a member, and we favour shared prosperity, sustainable growth, cooperation and diversity. And we're already reaping the rewards. Zebra startups have access to social impact funding. We attract the best talent, we build more meaningful connections with our customers, and because of the collaborative spirit, all boats rise. Now, the reason I wanted to talk to you about zebras today is because startups, much like any corporation, is simply a structure. It's a tool that we can choose to use for good or for evil. And when we use that tool in a conscious and sustainable manner, we can spread the wealth and we can make a hell of a lot of good happen in the world. Another such tool is a brand. A brand is a collection of values and behaviors that unite you with your customer and differentiate you from your competitor. And you all in this room today have the power to make your brands more zebra, more black and white, to favor both purpose and profit. And if you don't know where to start, I recommend you check out the Conscious Advertising Network. Much like Zebras Unite, it's a network of volunteers who are working to define what it means to harness the value of a massive industry and to use it as a force for good. Because advertising online, just online advertising, is a $300 billion industry, and there are a few simple changes that we can make to make it a force for good in the world. Because if we want our companies, our brands, and our startups to last the test of time, like zebras, we have to support the herd.
All right. Let's return to business as a positive part of society. Obviously, this is key to GoodLoop and key to many of the companies involved here today. Let me mention Gone West. So thank you, Wendy, for inviting us to this. Wendy's company, Gone West, they are also a company. Their purpose is to plant trees. But it goes beyond this. It's not just for companies like GoodLoop, Gone West, organic brands, not just for companies who are very obviously focused on doing good and being a business. Doing good is actually good for most businesses. Unilever, they did a study of how their brands are performing. Unilever, a major brand who manage a good fraction of the products that you will find when you go down to the supermarket. So example, Unilever, well, if I just pick some of the ones that we've done ad campaigns for, Ben & Jerry's, Knorr, personal washing up liquid, they do a lot of things. They found that the brands which had a purpose and had put sustainability at the core of how they worked were far from lagging behind. They were growing faster and delivering better commercially than the rest of the business. And when they found this out, Unilever's response, as sensible business people, was to say, right, we should do more of that. It makes money. And they're on a project to embed sustainability in all the Unilever brands. And that, because of the scale, is going to do a lot of good. And this is not too surprising, this result. To pick a Unilever brand like Dove. Dove sells soap. Soap is not very exciting. If someone wants to talk to you about soap, you're probably going to make excuses pretty quickly. But talking about what is real beauty and pushing against the pressure to conform to some idealized body image and in favor of actually people should be themselves and celebrate how they look, that's much more interesting. So that's what Dove is built around, is this idea of women being themselves and not having to conform to the sort of the skinny supermodel image. That's much more interesting to talk about. And it turns out that also sells more soap. It's a win-win for them. And this is not confined to soap. This happens across the board. Consumers would much rather spend with brands which are giving something back to society and with brands who fit in with their identity. And this has only got stronger. That Unilever result, that was from a couple of years ago. That's actually 3 years ago that they did that study. Since then, what we've seen is that the trend towards consumers caring about how brands behave has increased. And that was pre-COVID-19. COVID-19 has shaken things up. It's been a terrible pandemic, but it has brought out people's the better nature of people. So we saw in the UK thousands upon thousands of people volunteering to help the NHS. And we saw that charity activity, rather than declining, has actually gone up. Because people do care about society and we want to do our bit. And that goes through to business too. We are demanding more of our businesses, and rightly so. So here we have a couple of study results from March. So with COVID beginning to hit in the UK, 74% agree that they want to hear from brands who are helping with the crisis. We want the companies we work with to be part of society and to be engaging positively in society. And on Twitter, 77% of users feel more positively about brands who are supporting society. These are not surprising results, but they're strong results. They're showing that if you're in business in the modern age, if you're wanting to sell to Western consumers, then you need to be looking at being a positive part of the world. And another survey here, Mindshare found that US consumers think brands should donate to charity. And that has gone up in the COVID crisis. Brands need to do something if they want to stay relevant, if they want to keep their audiences. And they can't just talk, people want to see action. So this is where business both should and has to embed purpose and being part of society into its operations. And the rewards for doing that are great. The rewards are, I mean, we've touched on some here about faster growth in Unilever, that 50% higher growth. In GoodLoop, we're seeing our product performs better. We get about twice the ad recall. We get a huge brand uplift versus other advertising. We also see other benefits. When it comes to our staff, we find it easier to attract good people to the company because people want to work on something that matters. And also the spirit in the company is naturally better. I'm unashamedly happy when GoodLoop closes a deal. Whenever we score a big business deal, it's a delight because firstly, great, it's my business and that's money in the business. And then there's this other part of, well, take that deal, divide the number by 2, that money is going to good causes. And that is part of what drives us as a company and allows us to do well as a company. If you imagine how to get the most out of people at work, you take the same person with the same skills and imagine that person on a down day when they're tired and they just want to wait until the clock hits 5 o'clock and get home. Or, well, these days, log off. That same person, when they are motivated, when they are feeling good, and when they want to achieve, it's like night and day. There is no comparison between the work that that person will achieve. It's the same person, and you're probably paying them the same wage. But when they have purpose, they do their best work. So what we do at GoodLoop and what other companies who are in the business with purpose movement, such as B corporations like Patagonia or Danone yogurts, and also the many new companies who are innovating and driving change in lots of industries. What we do, I put here, this is not being nice. Now the thing is, it is nice, but it's more than that. It's more than nice. It's how business should work. Every business should be delivering something positive. Every business should be, on balance, net good for society and the environment. And this is something that, this is not a dream, this is something that we can achieve, and it is on us to achieve it as business people, to build businesses that deliver good and that we can be proud of. As voters, to call for the markets, the regulation and the framework that encourage business to act in everyone's interests. And as consumers, to use our buying choices and our money choices to drive the ethics and the world we want to see. So let me leave you there with that thought, that I firmly believe business can be a force for good, and let's make it so. Thank you very much for listening. I've been Daniel Winterstein, Chief Technical Officer of GoodLoop. Let me hand back to the moderators. Wendy, Nimisha.
Hello, that was really, really good. I also love Amy's rawness. I love that zebra unicorn analogy. A question for you from the audience. So they ask, Daniel, great presentation. What have been some of the challenges in getting buy-in for your sort of platform?
Oh, good question. One of the challenges we faced is, so the people we engage with, our clients, the general reaction is, this sounds lovely. Is it too good to be true? Where's the catch?
Yeah.
And what's quite common is that people really want to test it, to kick the tires before they really believe what we're doing, which I completely get. I think that's completely reasonable. So we'll get clients might do only a small trial campaign because they don't really think it's going to work. Mm. And then it does work and they come back and do a bigger campaign with us. So part of our thing is that challenge is to make the point that this is actually good business sense. Mm. Yes, it's great for the world. Yes, it's lovely. It's also going to work as a business side.
And I think that's always the challenge when we apply innovation into solving social problems. It's one of the first questions anyone who pioneers that gets asked, what's the catch? Like, what's going to go wrong? So another question that I had for you. So prior to you joining us, I opened up the Today Morning session, actually referenced Cambridge Analytica. So it's funny that you brought that up as well. But in light of those sorts of instances, what do you believe? Do you believe that we should be innovating more products, or do you believe that a lot of innovation already exists and it just needs to be applied in better ways?
If we're looking on the data side, I think there's still lots of room for innovation, and lots of room for innovation that's both harmful and innovation that's positive.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see, on the one hand, more transparency and more regulation and more tools that are in the hands of consumers to make the market better. Like at the moment, on that side, we have GDPR and e-privacy laws. And like in California, there's the Californian Privacy Act, and there's a few other such laws around the world, which are, these are by and large pretty good laws, but not well implemented at the technology level or at the company level.
Yeah.
And in the case of GDPR, the law is sadly being flouted quite a lot. If you read the UK Information Commissioner Officer reports on this,
yes,
they're fairly clear that companies are breaking the law.
Yeah.
This is appalling. How could it should not be possible to run a business that breaks the law?
Correct.
So I'd like to see that done better. I'd also like to see tools. At the moment, we are hit by all these consent widgets. We're bombarded by consent widgets. That's not good. That's not in anyone's interest. It's not the law that's to blame there. It's that there isn't the tools to make it a user-friendly experience. So we could solve this with, I should be able to have a chat with my browser where I say, right, these are my settings, apply them across the internet as I browse.
Correct. Yeah.
We can solve this. So I'd like to see more innovation there. I think technical innovation can make data privacy much better.
Absolutely.
And then off the back of that, I'd like to see innovation around AIs which work in the consumer's interest as a positive part of the ecosystem. So at the moment, the AIs, they're not evil. They're not on your side.
Correct.
They are working to maximize click-throughs, maximize advertising yields. And if that is being used in the service of a product you like, that's great, because you get to hear about this product that you would otherwise never have heard of. And you can discover websites, apps, communities, which are really beneficial to you. If that's used against you, as it sometimes is, that's bad. You can be attacked with addictive things, you can be manipulated.
Yeah.
So I want to see AIs, rather than being shut down, being brought out into the light and being partners that we work with, and where they are acting in our interests. And I think then what we can get is the benefits of having these superhuman computer systems being able to help us deal with the complexity of the modern world without the cost.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, another question for you. This is quite an interesting one. It's kind of on your AI point. Do you think all AI is bad? Well, you did answer that and say not all AI is bad. But maybe it would be worthwhile you extending a little bit on that subject, because you're well versed in it, as to why it is good or bad, or why do people perceive it to be that way?
Oh, thank you for that question. Yes, this question really goes close to my heart. It's often said in the AI industry that AI is a tool,
Yes.
That has to be the beginning of the debate. A tool can be used for good or evil. This is a really powerful tool, AI. It is powerful in a few ways. One of them is this unprecedented scale which it allows for both good and bad to be done.
Correct.
AI often gets a bad press because of when AI crops up in the movies, it's more likely to be Terminator, the evil robot who wants to kill you, than Johnny Five, the friendly robot who wants to help you.
Yeah.
And it also gets a bad press in reality because it will tend to be things like Cambridge Analytica that make the headlines, and rightly so. That was a scandal. It deserved action, and indeed it deserves more action than we've had so far. The way AI helps us is often less attention grabbing, but it does help us a lot.
Yeah.
If you think of things like, well, the ability we have now using systems like Google to go off and find the pieces of knowledge we want. If you want to do something, whatever it is, you can probably find that information.
Correct.
Within a minute. And that is an immense, that's like a superpower that we've acquired.
Yeah.
And that's based on using AI to analyze those vast sets of data and make them accessible to people. And there's plenty of other examples where AI is a tool that has both good and evil sides. Automated drones, they can be used to kill people. They are used to kill people.
Yeah.
They can also be used to, there's people who are using drones to deliver medical supplies.
Yeah, they do that in Africa a lot, yeah.
And planting crops, planting trees as well now.
So yes, AI is this, it has the potential to do great things, it has the potential to do bad things. And I think the onus is on both the companies and society to see that we use this tool well. I think every company that engages within AI should have ethics as part of how they work. They should be ethical by design.
Correct.
Not ethical as an afterthought, like, you know, Facebook got caught out by Cambridge Analytica and then they thought about data privacy. No, it should have been, ethics should have been there from the beginning. And I think that goes for every company that deals with AI. You should probably set up an ethics committee where you are going to step aside from your other roles and take the time to consider, should we do this? What are the effects? How do we do this so the effects are good? And when I say every company that deals with AI, I think the qualifier that deals with AI is going to increasingly become redundant.
Yeah. Okay. One final question, and this is quite an interesting one. It's actually close to the heart of the founder whose tech platform we're using for this conference. What is your opinion on general public having democracy over their data? I mean, I think your brand exemplifies that, but I think maybe people want you to just explore that topic a little bit more.
Yeah, as you say, Nimisha, my opinion is going to come as no surprise that I am strongly in favor of the general public having rights over their data, over data being handled in a democratic manner. I'd like to see non-private data be a public good, because it's something that that there is no cost to sharing and everyone can benefit. And we are seeing wonderful things there in the open data community around the data sets which are now online. And that then filters through to the innovative products that people are able to build. One of the key things in anything that works with AI and machine learning is access to data. When I started out in AI, which was 20 years ago now, data was really in limited supply, and that constrained things. There were lots of problems we couldn't tackle because there was no data to analyze. Having data come online, that's really unlocking a lot of innovation, and a lot of it in good spaces like better healthcare. Around personal data, I think it's very valuable. Right now, there is fairly widespread abuse, both practices which are actually illegal and practices which should be illegal. Do I have, no, I haven't got my, I have an example somewhere of a company which is kind of one of the creepiest ideas I've ever come across. It was an AI system which you wouldn't deliberately install this. It would be part of another application. You wouldn't realize it was on your phone at all. And what it would do is it would look at your personal photos and analyze them for, are you married? Are you single? Have you just gone through a breakup? Do you have pets? Do you have children? And then that data would be available for sale and use against you. And this would all go on without you realizing, you'd clicked on some privacy policy that you couldn't read, really. You'd never known the details of what this thing was going to do, never suspected that this perfectly innocent application that was doing something else would ever go and do that. That kind of thing has to stop. So I think we want better controls there, but we also want the tools that make it easy to use data. Like, most people don't care about their data. And you know what? Most people's lives are too busy that they should care about their data. This should be something we can delegate and have tools and systems which will act on our behalf so that we can get on with our lives. I don't want to think every time a bit of data is handed over about what it means and what the rights should be and fill in a form about the process that will control it. This feels like a task for technology. So yes, I'm very much in favor of democratization, and I'm also in favor of active innovation to make that work, so it's easy and painless, and it just becomes something you don't notice that's part of your life.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Daniel. We're just 2 minutes away from finishing. So I just wanted to take a quick moment, number one, to thank you for your time and taking us through GoodLoop. I personally am a very big fan, and I just really wish you guys all the very best. I know you guys are going to go to really big places. And also, I just wanted to extend a thank you from the Prince's Trust for your support on our Acorns to Oaks campaign. So Wendy, did you want to say anything on that a little bit?
Yeah, no, thank you, Daniel. Yes, we're very, very proud to be able to partner with GoodLoop on the Acorns to Oaks campaign as an option for businesses to get involved and support the campaign in exactly the way that Daniel has demonstrated within his presentation, and it's a real honor for us. So thank you, Daniel, and I know that you're such a real sort of wealth of knowledge in this space in terms of data analytics and data in all of its forms and all of its glory. So thank you so much for taking the time to share your insights with us today.
Wendy, Nimishas, thank you very much for having me.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. All right, guys, thank you very much. And for those who are watching, we'll see you at the next session. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Wendy.
Daniel. Bye.
Thank you.